Yeah, I appreciate all you coming today on a beautiful fall day, the fall equinox, so fall is right on schedule, I guess. But that's my favorite time of year. I hope you all enjoy it too. But anyway, we're observing the International Day of Peace, which is actually yesterday, but every day should be a day of peace, right? If you'd like to follow us for that, we'll recite them together. We, the members of the congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Covenant, together to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and every being, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Respect and reverence for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And I think if we could get everybody to live by those principles, we'll be well on our way to a world of peace. Right now I'm going to call on a good friend who is a dedicated peace activist. He's a well-known musician. He often plays for Veterans for Peace events, and he's been played here at Hobgoblin Barn too during our peace talk events we used to have here. So I want to call upon Bill McGrath from Northfield to do his music, and he's probably going to have a few words afterwards too. So welcome, Bill.
Great to be here. Thanks to Gary Stone. Tom is filming this. Ted Tollefson is here somewhere. Oh yeah, there you are, Ted. Good to see you. Franklin Roosevelt did the fireside chats, and in 1940 he gave a specific fireside chat in which he brought out the phrase, the arsenal of democracy. And if you put yourself back in 1940, things were not looking real great. The Germans were bombing the hell out of Britain, and the Nazis had taken over France and Norway and Poland and a lot of other places, and things were looking pretty bad. So he got up and gave that talk, and that phrase kind of caught me. I was looking into it this past week. I think at that time there was a real need for our country to build up our weapons capability and help supply many other countries with weapons. And I think things have changed since then, and I think the nature of being in a peace movement has changed a great deal. I grew up in the 60s. I was a teenager during most of the Vietnam War, and back then our focus as peace activists was pretty much aimed at the draft. If there hadn't been a draft, I don't know that we would have had much of an anti-war movement. And nowadays we have wars going on to which we are involved, but we're not drafting anybody. And no Americans are really, not very many Americans are coming back in body bags. We all remember that, and the body count that they would have on Walter Cronkite every night and all that. So the nature of American warfare has changed a great deal. And so I dragged out an old song written by a guy named Eric Bogle. Maybe you've heard of Eric Bogle. Remember his name, it's a little bit like Bugle, but it's Bogle, and he was, I think he's still around. Australian, he's actually Scottish eventually, but he wrote this song in the 70s, and it has to do with what it was like to be drafted into the Australian Army during World War I. And they were sent over to a horrendous battle, Gallipoli, in the Ottoman Empire, which we now call Turkey, but it was a very, very bad experience. So, when I was a young man, I carried my pack, and I lived the free life of the rover. From Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1916, my country said, son, it's time to stop rolling, there's work to be done. They gave me a tin hat, they gave me a gun, sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we sailed away from the quay. Amid all the cheers, flag waving and tears, we sailed to Gallipoli. How I remember that terrible day when our blood stained the sand and the water. How in the hell they call Suvla Bay, we were led like lambs to the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was ready, he timed himself well. He shelled us with bullets and he rained us with shells. 5 minutes fat, he sent off us to hell, and blew us all the way to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped and buried our dead. We buried ours and the Turks buried theirs, and we started all over again. And those who remained did their best to survive in that mad world of blood, mud and fire. 4 or 5 weeks I kept myself alive, though around me the corpses flew higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me arse overhead, and when I awoke in a hospital bed, when I saw what they'd done, Christ, I wished I was dead. Never knew there was worse things than dying. No more waltzing Matilda through the green bush, far and free. To hang tangs and pegs, a man needs 2 legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. They gathered the crippled, the wounded, the maimed, sent us all back to Australia. The legless, the armless, the blind, the insane, those hooded heroes of Suvla. And as our ship pulled into Circular Bay, I looked at the place where my legs used to be. Christ, there was no one there waiting for me to grieve or mourn or to pity. But the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. Nobody cheered, they just stood there and stared. They turned their faces away. Each year in April I sit on my porch and I look at the parade as it goes by me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving past days of their glory. The old men march slowly, their bones stiff and sore, forgotten heroes of the forgotten war. And the band plays Waltzing Matilda as the old man still caught the call. With each passing year, their numbers get fewer. Someday no one will march them at all. Marching Matilda, who'll go marching Matilda with me? And their ghost may be heard as they march along that billy bum. Who'll go marching Matilda with me? Thank you. I always forget some part of the song, so I'll skip it each time. But anyway, as we look at what anti-war means these days, the arsenal of democracy has been sending our weapons all over to countries that vaguely resemble democracies, but it seems mostly we are in the weapons industry, and rather than the arsenal of democracy, we're kind of the arsenal of Wall Street. And it's hard to protest that because nobody is getting killed in a foxhole or rice paddy. The war has changed, but there's still a lot of it out there. And so I look at my own, at age 72, what I can do about this, and I think of just the classic approach of trying to be a respected member of my community. That's real important, I think, in anti-war work, because if you're some weird guy in your underwear down in the basement writing angry things, I don't know that you're changing the world. It might be kind of fun, but if you are well known in town and respected, and then you start questioning things about our foreign policy, you might have a chance of influencing some people, and that's about as best as I can hope for right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill Habedank. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Bill. We always appreciate your music, and I'm anxious to hear more later. Yeah, I became a peace activist over 20 years ago, and I guess I was already respected in town. I was known as a pumpkin man. I put on a huge pumpkin show, and so people knew me. And when I first protested the Iraq War, it was actually before it started. I got a lot of angry response from people. You know, that's just the way it was back then. But as the years went on, you know, the war got worse and worse, and people would come up to me and say, "Bill, you were right." And I said, "You need to join this effort. We need to continue." So that's what we try to do now. Our peace movement has dwindled to not many of us who are still active, but we can't carry on. We can't stop. We need to continue. So that's why we put this event together to honor the International Day of Peace, which was yesterday, but of course today's close enough. So that's why we did this, and the Reverend Ted encouraged us to do it. So, and he's going to be part of this program too. So I'm anxious to hear what he says. But my talk was to ask just how do we create a world of peace. Most of us, nearly all of us, desire peace, but just who's responsible for a peaceful world? Is it my neighbor? Is it my local politicians? Certainly must be the people in Washington, D.C. Or maybe it's Russia, or China, or Iran, or North Korea. The truth is that peace is up to each one of us individually, not the entities that I mentioned. Peace does not come to us. It flows from us. It comes to us from our own individual actions. Having a peaceful heart may involve a unique way of living and thinking. It's a change, which is always hard. I know because I did it over 20 years ago, like I said. It's hard because people think you become less than sane. Many despise you. I know that for a fact because I had a disdain for peace activists before I became one. After my conversion, I began to understand these peaceful people and why they did it. None of them did it for a personal gain. They did it for others, the ones who would be involved in fighting wars and the innocent ones who would suffer from that violence. I cannot think of any war that has created the desired peace that war was assumed to create, particularly our modern wars. Even the winners are morally injured. I have had people tell me, well, peace through strength, or the world must fear us. This only creates anger and mistrust which can last for generations. Peace does not come through domination or retribution. Peace comes through reconciliation and love of your fellow man. With today's wars, we have the threat of nuclear war, where absolutely no one will likely survive. So who wins then? And who would be left to brag about winning? And winning what? To be the ruler of a destroyed earth? By now I would hope you are beginning to see that war and violence solve little, as they create only new problems which cannot be solved by more violence. So how do we create peace when there are so many enemies? One should ask, well, why do I have enemies? We must ask ourselves, why did that person or entity become an enemy? Was it something we did to create an enemy? I believe that many times our actions often create our enemies. Currently, we often play the blame game, laying the reasons onto our adversaries. We must stop doing that and try to find out if our actions cause this animosity. If we decide that we are not at fault for creating an enemy, we should refrain from perpetuating more animosity by the angry talk and threats. Sadly, some enemies will refuse to become friends. In that case, disengage from them. Do not make it worse, because someday that enemy may become a friend. Some enemies may continue to pursue threats against you. Do not do likewise. Stick up for yourself, but do not make threats. Yes, these are exceedingly difficult things to do, but in today's world, what choice do we have? Do we continue as we have and let our hate and distrust become our way? I hope the answer is a profound no. Sounds easy? Absolutely not. Peace is harder than war. Which is why we have resorted to war so many times. It is time for people to pursue peace, and the more who do it, the more likely it will succeed. Now I'd like to play a tune which I actually played here at Peace Talk about 10 years ago. It's when I first heard the song in 1985, I enjoyed the song, but I didn't pay particular attention to it. But the song is "We Don't Need Another Hero" from the movie Mad Max Thunderdome, and sung by the great late Tina Turner. And over the years after I started listening to the song, more and more it's a song of peace. So as you listen to the song, regard Thunderdome as war and violence. And it says, we are the children, we are the ones that are left behind. And so, as you listen to the song, pay attention to the words and, you know.
Last generation, we are the ones left behind. And I wonder we are ever gonna change. Living under the fear till nothing else remains. We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what we are. Looking for something we can rely on. There's got to be something better out there. Love and compassion. That day is coming. All else are castles built in the air. And I wonder when we are ever gonna change. Living under the fear till nothing else remains. All the children say we don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what we are. So what do we do in our lives? We leave our faith behind. Will our story shine like a light? Or is this the dark? Is it all or nothing? We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what we are. And I wonder when we are ever gonna change. Living under the fear till nothing else remains. We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what we are. All the children say we don't need another hero. We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what we are.
Hope you enjoyed the song, and I hope you get a chance to listen to it again. And as Tina Turner says, give it all or nothing. That's what we gotta do. Okay, so now I want to call upon our Reverend Ted Tollefson to, he's encouraged us to do this, so I'm glad he allowed us to do this, and we hope to do it every year, right? Yep. Okay, welcome Reverend Ted Tollefson.
I've always wanted to follow Tina Turner. So I can take that one off my list. I want to talk a little bit about the word peace Because if you actually look into, the Hebrew is shalom, the Arabic is salam, in China it's called ping. In every case it means peace with justice. As Dr. King said, peace is not just the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. So we somehow have to weave together those two qualities if we want to be makers of just peace. And how we do that is to try to hold those two qualities in tension. One way to understand how we might do that, I turn to my sacred text, one of which is the Tao Te Ching, the great text of China. And in one of the chapters, it says, if you want to see peace in our world, there must be peace between nations. If you want to see peace between nations, there must be peace between states. If you want to see peace between states, there must be peace between neighbors. If you want to see peace between neighbors, there must be peace within. Now, China is a profoundly introverted culture, so the way that is usually interpreted is start within. And there's nothing wrong with that perspective. I'm profoundly introverted myself, but I want to offer another possible way of interpreting it in light of an interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And when we bring our attention to the web of life and death, the word between becomes crucial. And all of a sudden, instead of turning our attention inward and despairing why our meditation doesn't bring the absence of violence, we can turn our glance to the whole interdependent web and realize we can start anywhere. Because the whole web of life, interdependent web of existence of which we are part, the whole web is connected, so we can start anywhere. So if we want to bring just peace, we could start with the people in our neighborhood who keep voting the wrong way. Every neighborhood has people who vote the wrong way, and the signs are beginning to appear. Everybody knows who I'm going to vote for. They certainly know who the hell I'm not going to vote for. But I don't put up a sign because I want the conversations between neighbors to continue. And when someone puts up a particularly bold trump for the sign for the wrong candidate, if I want to engage them, I go up and say, "Hi, I'm your neighbor, I'm Ted, we've seen each other. Tell me what you like best about Trump." And I listen. And then I try to reflect back something positive. I like your enthusiasm. That's just a little gesture towards creating peace with justice. We can also choose to focus our attention on the neighbors we get along with. And we can work for ways to make concrete and tangible the idea that all beings have a right to a decent life. And all beings have a right to live without violence. Even if that means leaving the door of our trailer, we have a 1964 Airstream, unlocked, and we occasionally get a visitor. The last visitor left an eagle feather. It's none of my business who that was. So maybe by leaving a few unlocked doors, we can foster a sense of shared abundance, which may increase the odds that we begin to live in a world with peace and justice. And I don't know if you have a chance to interact with movers and shakers. When our adopted son graduated from St. Olaf College, Amy Klobuchar was the speaker. She knew Sam because he worked for her in DC. So we got to shake hands with her and thank her for her many years of witness. So these little opportunities to praise, to thank, to appreciate, to welcome is how peace arrives, one conversation at a time. So my invitation to you is the next time you find yourself in conversation with a neighbor who you know, or someone who might vote the wrong way, or who doesn't agree with you about something, see if you can create a conversation where some common ground under our feet emerges. We all depend upon that. Let's try walking it. And we're now going to have some conversations, is that right? Bill, why don't you come back and convene the conversations, and I will focus on getting safely down the steps. I've reached the age of railings. And when I see steps without railings, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Thank you, Reverend Ted, that was great. I debated what shirt to wear today when I came, and I have this old shirt that says peace, not walls, and that's a lot of what Reverend Ted was talking about. Tear down the walls and try to reach a commonality with your neighbors and whoever you come up against. But I know you all have ideas of how to promote peace, so I was going to give you all an opportunity to come and speak. If you have something to say, please come up. Yeah, Peter.
I am challenged by no railings, but I'm a veteran. And I had an experience yesterday where my neighbors and fellow veterans helped me out to the greatest extent that they could, in that a group called Beyond the Yellow Ribbons showed up at my house to help me beyond my capabilities. I'm a single man with a large dog, and through the VFW and Beyond the Yellow Ribbons, they showed up at my house to help me beyond my capabilities. I have PTSD. And in 4 hours, they cleared my yard and garden to an extent that we filled 30 yards of dumpsters of stuff. Much of it vegetation, the other an accumulation. I'm not going to describe that. But at the end of the day, I felt the greatest gratitude of people who saw me as somebody in need. And I never expected it, but those who saw me as somebody in need cared for me. They showed up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they had accomplished not only clearing my accumulation, but my soul. For that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those that look inward and cleared me of my accumulation. My brothers in arms, and many of them came from Beyond the Yellow Ribbon and the VFW, and their partners and friends helped me clear the accumulation of burden that I had put on myself. For that, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for Bill, for his exercise of Veterans for Peace. But we all need to be people who seek peace and avoid the blindness or cloudiness of what causes us to not seek peace. For that, I'm grateful. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Peter. I can hand you the mic if you want to just come up to and say a few words.
Hi, I am Annalise. Something I have noticed is we would go about promoting peace in the same way we would promote reducing political divisions. And I'm noticing a lot of conflict comes from political divisions. And by reducing and then making sure people are not causing violence over ideological differences means we are a more unified world.
I wish I could have helped Peter yesterday, but I was attending a Midwest Veterans for Peace conference in Cedar Rapids, and if you ever get a chance to go up to a group of peace activists like that, I encourage you to do so because it's just so inspiring. They lift me up every time I go to one of these, because otherwise you feel all alone in the world. People don't seem to be listening to you, but you're amongst people who believe the same things you do. And it's uplifting, and that encourages us to continue on, because to be a peace activist, it's very difficult to maintain the intensity that you need to do to promote peace. So, anybody else would like to speak?
I want to say one more thing, Bill. Many of us who have participated in our militarism, my Vietnam draft number was 001. I was lucky that my year was never called up. Those who showed up yesterday had volunteered or were drafted, but all continue to show that arms are not the way to peace, but brotherhood and sisterhood are those that carry fulfillment forward. And I was thankful for the near 20 people that I knew and didn't know showed up to support me. And we need to continue to support each other regardless of our ideology, theology, or sociology. We need to support each other in the basic understanding of how we can be a brotherhood, sisterhood, or humanity for each other.
I'm inspired by everybody's uplifting me, and I need it. I have entered a part in my life where I am angry. We don't have any of the reasons that you would, ordinarily say, I can understand why she's angry. I find myself, maybe partly it's my genetic background, I don't know, but it doesn't make any difference. I was not involved at all in protesting the Iraq War. I was a young woman, did nothing about it. My change came when I taught students who were coming as refugees, and I heard their stories. I heard it from adults and I heard it from children. So I know that I came into my work kind of through the back door. But I'm finding myself extremely intolerant today. And I don't know whether I need to just take a break or I need to kind of truck on, hoping that there will be some light at the end of the tunnel. I got involved in Israel-Palestine through the Iraq War because we had a pastor who used to demonstrate with us. I'm from Rochester. And one day, he said, I need to be able to come to your peace meetings because I need to talk to you about my trip to Israel. And so he did, and he said, I'll bring some slides next week. And he did. And my friend, who became my comrade in arms, her name is Carol. The two of us saw this 18-foot wall that had been erected, and it changed my life. I said, my God, I had no idea. And so from that time on, I became, I don't know if you'd call it kind of a mad peace worker, but I've never had a peaceful heart. And yet I feel driven for justice. My brother-in-law used to say to me, quit calling yourself a peace activist. You know, you're for justice, but there's no peace in you. And yet, I cannot leave it alone. I find myself saying that genocide was kind of the last straw. It's like every American, I'm getting on the pulpit. Every American knows that it's a genocide. Every American, we are no different than the Nazis. None. We know, we have seen this genocide unfold. And so I'm living in a town with 2 synagogues, and I absolutely refuse anymore to do kumbaya moments. I can't do it. And yet, I know that I came in through storytelling. Do you see the quandary? Anyway, I just thank you for listening.
You know, Darlene, what caused me to become active for peace was anger. You know, but you can't just let anger consume you. You need to turn it into good talk and try to reach people peacefully and thoughtfully. And I know Bill McGrath, he lived in West Bank for a few months, right? 1 month, yeah, and he saw firsthand what's going on there. And continues, it's even worse today. 10 years ago in the Red Wing paper, I had an editor to the editor, and I said, Israel has to quit doing genocide in Gaza. I wrote that 10 years ago, but if I sent that letter in today, I'd be ostracized. You can't call it a genocide, I guess now, which it clearly is, you know. There's no other word to call it. So, we hope our politicians, they talk about a ceasefire, but there's more to that. There's more to solving this problem. And we hope they have come up with good solutions. Anyway, thank you. So,
Song.
huh?
Oh, excuse me, I thought you were having more music.
I want to raise up Bill McGrath for another action he took when we talked about divestment at the state level from anything that encouraged Israel over Palestinians. And I think it was maybe 10 years ago that we went to the governor for this divestment issue. And I want to thank him for leading the charge on that. I was alongside him, and the governor at the time said, we can't do it now, we have to wait till these investments mature, and at that time, cause them to fall off or not reinvesting. And I followed your lead from there, and that was my opportunity to take that. And I don't know how long ago it was, but we did face the governor at the time, and he said, we can't do it until these investments mature, that we can let them fall off. So I want to thank you for leading that charge. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, I'm gonna call upon Bill McGrath. He has a couple more tunes he'd like to play. So, anxious to hear that. Oh, we're gonna participate too there.
What we need is more noise. And so I'm gonna pass out a few things here. Jim right here is an actual drummer, so I'm gonna give him the actual drum here. But the other things can just go out into the audience. They're shakers and stuff. We're gonna do a song. You've heard this song many times, and your part of it is, it's only 8 words that you have to remember. Life is very short, and there's no time. Okay, that's gonna be your part. Now I'm gonna divide you into 3 groups, whether you like it or not. I think we'll take this group over here to that side of Jim. Jim's the drummer right there. And then this will be a middle group, and then there's this group here. So we have about 4 stellar singers in each group. And I'll get you going in a minute, but I gotta pass out the instruments. Okay, all right. Get this here if you want to use it.
I need a bass drum,
Yeah, here. And we'll just put a couple of these here. So we get you all singing the chorus, which is 8 words. Life is very short, and there's no.
but we have opportunities to see this again. And I was hoping that I could pass the offering, if you could help contribute to a little bit to the cost of promoting this.
Pass it out, I'll catch up.
I want to thank you all for coming and taking time to do this, and hoping it inspires you to become an activist. And there's many organizations that are promoting peace. They're easy to find wherever you live, so hope you can do that, because we need all of us to work together to create peace.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Thank you. So if you have your program, I want to close with the closing words. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Question all things. Hold on to what is good. Return to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. And honor all beings. Thank you.